Morning everyone and welcome back to our hearings. So we'll reconvene. First we have Rhonda Mather. Rhonda, if you come on. Thank you. Morning Rhonda and welcome to our meeting. Thank you for your submission. You will have heard the other day, 10 minutes, and please do the bell today. Courtney will give a room for around 8 minutes, so if you could leave a bit of room for questions, that would be great. Thank you for coming this morning, on this chilly morning. We look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Dan, and as always, it's great to be here and have the opportunity to share some views and hopefully have just a little bit of influence on the decision making at the end of the day. I don't have a lot that I want to cover today. I do want to go back over and expand a little bit on what came through from the Woodend Second Community Board submission the other day in relation to the fees increase for community facilities. And also that ties in very much so with the lack of the library servicing facilities in the North Woodend area, which would service Woodend, Pegasus, Waimakariri, and potentially other areas. So that kind of all ties together. So this is very much an independent submission. These are my views, but these are the views that I have garnered from over 10 years of working in my community and with my community. So, as has already been mentioned, the population of Pegasus alone is currently sitting on over 4,600. You can double that for combining Pegasus Woodend, and of course over 10,000 when you add in Waimakariri, and they are very much a part of that area, of course. So, as Shona pointed out the other day, we've already exceeded the forecast for 2040, we're already sitting over a population of 10,000, and with that there are needs for the community. Just a little fun fact that I checked on distance to the Kaipoi Library I'm going from the Pegasus Community Centre just for a central point in Pegasus. Distance to the Kaipoi Library is 11 kilometres by the shortest route, and the distance to the Rangiora Library from Pegasus 9.7 kilometres by the shortest route. Obviously, if you go a bit further afield in Pegasus, it might be a bit more or a bit less if you're closer. But there you go. So we're basically we are looking at a distance to our nearest library type centre of 10 kilometres or more. So the fee increase that concerns me, I find by looking in this wonderful multi-100-page document that not a lot of people are going to look in, to be honest. You put out the wonderful little draft that's got the key points, which the public will focus on, and that's fabulous. When I look at this, let's be honest, I don't read the whole thing. I go straight to the fees because that's the point of interest for me. So one of my concerns is that the people who are going to be affected by this fee increase don't know about it until you've already deliberated and set it in place. They get notified of the new fees in June, late June is my understanding. So they haven't really had an opportunity to go, oh my goodness, I think I should provide some feedback on that. So don't let a lack of feedback on fees have you think that people have read it and think it's okay. I went through this some 6 years ago with a long-term plan where there was a significant increase in fees proposed, 50 to 100% at that time. At that time, it was also agreed that that was inappropriate. The eventual outcome was that was inappropriate, and I think that's the words actually used by the council in their reply to the submission at that time, that sort of increase is inappropriate. They decided then that, okay, we'll have a small increase every year, something like 2.5%. So there has been fee increase from July 2018 when it was $10 to July 2023, it's now $11.36. So that's a pretty small increase. It's annual increases have been between 22 cents and 46 cents an hour. This is, and I'm talking about Woodend Pegasus. Obviously, there's a variation in I'm just focusing on those areas. They're not all exactly the same. So an annual increase of between 22 and 46 cents an hour since 2018, and we're now proposing to increase $3.64 an hour for Pegasus and $5.54 for Woodend. I honestly, and I've spoken to Grant McLeod about this, I cannot see the justification for it, even after speaking with him. I understand there's a desire to get some of the facilities aligned in their pricing. However, to align Woodend with Oxford, Oxford has a library service centre, Woodend doesn't. So I bring it back to that again because the libraries provide so much opportunity for community connection, so much opportunity for free community connection. So, you know, we're disadvantaged in our area by not having the library service centre. And yes, of course, we can travel the 10 kilometres to kind of where you're at, as I do. I'm a great user of the libraries myself. Thoroughly enjoyed a little concert in there yesterday. So that's fabulous. But so there's a disadvantage there. So don't tell me that you can equate Woodend community centre pricing with Oxford community centre pricing when Oxford has other services that are of value to the community wellbeing that Woodend Pegasus doesn't. So, in terms of the fee increase, so you know, you've agonised over the rates and getting the rates increased down to an acceptable or what we hope is an acceptable average. You wouldn't put the rates up by 30 to 50%, would you? So how does that translate into being acceptable to put community hire fees up by 30 to 50%? I mean, it's just, let's not go there, it's just not right. So I really, really hope that you'll look seriously at that because while I do appreciate the savings that the council have made and have worked hard to make in terms of the average rate increase, I'm asking that you don't make these savings by penalising those residents who are most vulnerable and most in need. Because that's what my concern is. It's those people who most need these facilities, who need them to be affordable. And another angle is that the more you put the fees up, the more fee waiver applications you're going to get. And those fee waiver applications equal admin costs. So there's a happy medium, or maybe a pleasant medium to be found somewhere, and I don't think it's quite there yet. I actually believe the fees need to be looked at again, and after talking with Grant, he was of a similar mind, though neither of us can quite pin down what it is, but there's something missing in the fee structure. So I do hope that you'll seriously consider that 30 to 50% proposed increase for Woodend Pegasus. And they're not the only ones. But yeah, there are other, let's bring it down to a acceptable level, stagger those increases over several years, that'll be fabulous. Yeah, what else? Anything else I want to say to you? That's probably just about covered it, to be honest, but I will just point out that where I'm coming from, if you sort of, you know, don't kid yourselves that your community outcome social is exactly where I'm coming from. So this is well within, you know, looking after communities, community wellbeing, community providing appropriate community facilities. It is a part of what this council is about. Yeah, and I think that's probably, thank you very much, that's probably about all I've got to say on that.
Thanks, Rhonda. Any questions? Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Rhonda. I can hear the passion in your voice. Do you think it would be helpful if the team would come back with you with the cost to build, the cost of the power, cost of cleaning, cost of the insurances for each of the facilities, so as to establish a rationale for the fees? Would that be helpful to you?
It might, but I'm not sure. I mean, at the end of the day, we know that libraries, swimming pools, community facilities, we know they're a cost to the ratepayer. We know that they don't pay for themselves. That's a given. I mean, it'd be great if they did, but that's not reality. You know, that's what. It's one of those things. You know, I was thinking the other day, the thing about rates, they're horrendously expensive, but I can actually see what I'm getting for my money. Whether that's the tree, the road, the community facility, I can see what I'm getting for my money. When I have to pay a huge cost for insurance I'm thinking, where's that money going? That feels like so much more work. But you guys get it in the neck for putting up the rates, and I can see what I'm getting from money. Yeah, they're blooming expensive, but at least I can see those facilities. And, yeah.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Edmund?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your submission, Rhonda. Sorry I can't be there in person. Looking at the hire of the Pegasus Community Centre, in your experience, do community users receive a fee waiver discount?
Yes, I know that there are. Well, I can spring to mind at least 3 groups just off the top of my head that get fee waivers. So yeah, definitely there are people who. I mean, I wonder how much people know about that. And probably if it was more widely known, you'd get more fee waivers, which is not necessarily a good thing. And I'm of the opinion that the fee waiver system probably needs a bit of tweaking, but yeah.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
No further questions. Oh, sorry, Deputy Reactions.
Well, you compared, or Grant compared, or whoever it was, the Oxford to Pegasus when you were talking about the fees.
To Woodend.
Sorry, to Woodend. And you referred to the library. That's actually in the service centre, not in the community centre. So just the differences between the two, because the service centre in Oxford is similar, even though there's not a court in there, to a basketball court, is similar to what's in Woodend. So I'm a bit confused about the fees you're talking about between them. The service centre is different.
So yeah, no, it's not a fee for the service centre, it's a fee for the community facility area, the community rooms that can be hired by the public. So the thinking, as I understand it, is that they've got similar things. So they might both have a data projector, they've got similar facilities within them, therefore they should be similarly priced. Whereas what I'm trying to say, and maybe not saying very clearly, is that on top of that, those community rooms, Oxford has got the library service centre, so they have also a facility where people can go for free. They're getting activities provided there for free. They've got a number of things which that isn't available in the Woodend Pegasus area.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I'm just confused.
Thank you. Thanks, Rhonda. We appreciate your submission. It's very clear, and you're very, very passionate about your community, and it is very much appreciated here as we find our way to ensure that we're providing the facilities that are needed for a new community. Although it's not as new as it once was, but it's certainly establishing that community character is something that you have, in that spirit, have played a big role in. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Rhonda. Next we have Canterbury Botanical Society. Tom. Morning, Tom.
Good morning.
Thank you for the submission. We welcome the opportunity of hearing what you've got to say. It's up to 10 minutes. There'll be an indication at 8 minutes if required, just to let you know how you're going for time. If you could leave a little bit for questions, that would be appreciated.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Tom Ferguson. I'm the president of the Canterbury Botanical Society. We have around 200 members, paid members, and our focus is on the protection of New Zealand native flora, especially in the Canterbury region. We do this by having regular field trips and regular talks, so monthly talks, monthly field trips. We also publish an annual journal, monthly newsletter, and we distribute a student grant. The Waimakariri district is one of the areas we often go to, proximity to Christchurch. We have quite a few Waimakariri residents in our membership, so we often do trips where we will meet somewhere in the Waimakariri district and then keep going from there. So some recent field trips we've undertaken, we did a trip to a wetland near the Woodstock Quarry, actually bordering the Woodstock Quarry. We've done a trip out to False Woodstock, which is a really cool site. It's an island on the Waimakariri River that has an old, hundreds of years old forest on it, with big established hinau trees that are quite sort of locally rare. We've done trips to Kānuku drylands in the Waimakariri district, mostly on private land, but also to a dock reserve that's been recently purchased. And it's, the Waimakariri district is blessed with a whole bunch of natural assets. Another trip, actually last winter, we went out to Haitala Trust. So Waimakariri district is so lucky. You've got the foothills forests, you've got the coastal reserves, you've got the Waimakariri River, of course, as well as the Ashley. You've got these beautiful graded rivers, Lees Valley. There's all these natural areas, and I think that they really add to the character of the district. So the Canterbury Botanical Society really supports the council's preference when it comes to the natural environment strategy. Invest in those assets, invest in looking after what you have here in the Waimakariri district. All these beautiful remnant natural areas, and to be able to protect them, to enhance them, and to provide the resources, the staffing and the funding necessary to actually make sure that they're protected for future generations. You want to make the Waimakariri district a livable and enjoyable place to be. So yeah, why not invest? And for what is it? All up, compared to the sort of lowest cost option, you're only talking, $6 per ratepayer for but it's only a few dollars a year in terms of rates, and that's making a big difference in terms of what you're protecting, what you're looking after. I guess another thing that the Botanical Society wants to point out, though, is that the district council shouldn't have to take the role of what government should be bringing to the table when it comes to conservation, and I think it's important to push that. On the national level, there is that support and funding provided as well, so that the district council doesn't have to, sort of bear the brunt of what the protection of the natural environment encompasses. Pretty much it, I think. Questions, please.
Thanks, Tom. Questions? Mr. Berkey.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I know you interact with us at Tuatara. What is your liaison with our Green Space Department and our Biodiversity Trust?
So the Canterbury Botanical Society is separate to my sort of role. I work at Waiora as a ecological restoration professional, but in terms of the Canterbury Botanical Society, that's sort of where the submission has come from, and it's around the protection of native plants. In my personal role, I work at Waiora, and we do some restoration work at places like Tuatara and those sort of projects as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Fortune.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Tom. Can you tell us what sort of role, let's say, the district, the council, and your group may have in encouraging people to engage in covenants, kiwi-turf or whatever, setbacks, like in Kānuku and whatnot. People do things voluntarily rather than being imposed upon.
I think the main thing is education, and I think the Canterbury Botanical Society, we've published journals for years detailing the special Kānuku landscapes of Waimakariri district. Some of our members have actually done some further work on the Waimakariri district Kānuku landscapes. I think a lot of people don't, especially if they're new to the district, they don't realise the unique and special characters of these Kānuku drylands. So having these sort of exciting, there's this native clematis that scrambles up in these Kānuku forests that smells like Old Spice, and it's got this purple flower, and it, when you see it in flower, those sort of, when you see the beautiful lizards and things like that in the natural environment, I think that's when you get a bit of buy-in. Yeah, I agree, you can't just force people to, you want to sort of have that stick and carrot balance. Yeah.
Councillor Williams,
No more than that. Well,
any further questions? Tom, thank you for your submission. Clear points, we appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for making the time. We'll be meeting in a couple of weeks to make some decisions and we'll be back in touch. Thank you. Next we have, if she's here, Gillian Giller. Hi Gillian.
Hello.
Nice to see you. Gillian, there's up to 10 minutes. Little bell will be sounded about 8 minutes to let you know how you're going for time. You could leave some room for some questions, that would be appreciated.
I think I can do that. Hello everyone. I'm not going to talk about biodiversity today. I'm going to talk about an intersection which is nearby and where I live and I frequently use. In fact, I've used it over the last 40 years and we all know about the growth that has happened in this district, and I have seen, how this observed and used this intersection as increasing amounts of traffic have used it. So I looked at where the Rangiora Wood End, what was called the 5 Crossroads intersection, you're probably all familiar with that, is placed in the long-term plan. It is for the 28-29 year, so it's on your radar as needing an upgrade. I believe this intersection is a very important, in fact I call it a pivotal intersection. And with all the other upgrades that you've done recently in the district or in past years, and I'm referring to water, wastewater, there's also upgrades in the roading system needed. Down at Southbrook, years ago, growth was constrained because there wasn't enough capacity in the wastewater system. Now that there is enough capacity there, we have seen tremendous growth in that area. And one of the things that has resulted from that is increasing amounts of heavy transport coming through the 5 Crossroads as they access State Highway 1 by the shortest route, which is through the 5 Crossroads and down Gressons Road. So at peak times, there is a build-up of traffic waiting to come out onto the Rangiora Wood End Road and then down the Gressons Road. It used to be 100 k's speed on those roads and now it's 80 k's. That has helped, but we're still getting delays, and it appears from my perspective, that those delays are increasing. I understand there was the last traffic survey done back in 2021, and I think probably there's more traffic on the road now, although I don't know for sure. So trucks have a lot of trouble when there's a lot of traffic on the Rangiora Wood End Road doing the right-hand turn, because they obviously require more space and more time to complete that manoeuvre. And of course, if they're sitting there and there's cars and other traffic backing up behind them, eventually some of them simply say, right, I've got to go, time is money, and they will pull out. And I have, along with other people personally experienced, when you're on the Rangiora Wood End Road, you just simply have to slow, and you understand why the trucks have pulled out, because they just can't keep waiting. And the same thing is happening on the Gressons Road intersection when they're turning right onto the Rangiora Wood End Road. So I also have a bicycle, and sometimes I use the cycleway walkway, but now I feel very uncomfortable crossing the the 5 crossroads where you have to cross the Tuahiwi Road and the Boys Road when there is a lot of traffic backed up there, because you sort of, you know, do you go between traffic and then hope that it's not too much turning left off the Rangiora Wood End Road into Boys Road. So it's not a comfortable place for someone on a bicycle to be when there is a lot of traffic using the road, and the traffic that comes can turn off the Rangiora Wood End Road and into Boys Road can actually do that at a reasonable speed. They don't have to slow down because of the configuration of the intersection. So the council has an infrastructure strategy, and it talks about you know, safe transport for everyone and an efficient one for freight. And I think that increasingly those goals are going to be harder and harder to meet with the increasing amount of traffic. And when I look at, you know, the new commercial area in Ravenswood, and the fact that we have a Harvey Norman building going up there, and I think it can be a given that other businesses will associate with that, you're going to get the people in Rangiora wanting to go to Ravenswood, and you're going to get the people in Ravenswood wanting to come and access the facilities in Rangiora, whether they're the commercial ones or whether they're your, you know, the pool, the library, the new sport ground, the new courts. You're going to get a lot of crisscross traffic, and also down to Southbrook where you've got things like the supermarket and the hardware stores. So I can see, you know, that the 5 Crossroads intersection is going to become busier. And you go there when it's quiet and you think, well, what's the problem? But it's always what's happening at the peak time. So as you all appreciate, infrastructure always has to be upgraded, and you're making some hard decisions about where to put the ratepayers' money. So I'm here to submit that putting the upgrade of the 5 Crossroads into the 28-29 year with all the predicted growth, I would submit that this intersection needs to be given a higher priority in your LTP funding. Thank you.
Thanks, Gillian. And very clear what you're asking for. There is there is work going on around land. Can't talk about that at this particular time, but it's very complicated with the various ownerships on the corner. But it's certainly a priority for us to address. So we're looking, that is being investigated as we speak, around what options there were, and we'll present those to council when we've got a clearer picture. But that's just to let you know that it is a priority for us. It's the intersection we look at regularly. It's certainly got its most challenges with all those various ways in which you can actually take your life in your hands sometimes when you're coming in there, so certainly understand and appreciate that. Just want to let you know that there's been some recent opportunities, and we're exploring those at the moment to see where we get to. So it's code for yes, we are looking at it seriously. Right.
Sooner, please.
Understand. Questions of colleagues? So, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Gillian. I completely concur with your thoughts of cycling and trying to get across 5 Crossroads with vehicles coming south. And would you agree, that's my question, would you agree that with the a roundabout at 5 Crossroads that would slow the vehicles which are currently travelling east from Rangiora, travel at 80 k's, which makes it very difficult for Gresson's roads, vehicles turning right onto Rangiora Wood End Road, whereas a roundabout will slow their traffic down and create a better exit, safer exit from Gresson's Road. Would you agree with that?
I'm not a traffic engineer, but I would imagine it probably would, and it would also, maybe it would just create some, would not only slow, it would create some breaks in the traffic. And I think that's the problem at the moment, turning right out of Boys Road. quite often the cars are spaced at a distance that there's not quite enough space to get out. You can sort of, and some people do it, and I've even had people, I'm waiting there and I've come around on my left-hand side and done a right-hand turn, and you sort of, and it's the impatience. And people do silly things, and because there's no light there saying stop, there's only a stop sign, sometimes people will take, and say, well, I'll do this. Or they fairly stop, or they don't stop, they give way, and then they just,
Thank you.
Thank you. Just realise you and Miles haven't commented specifically, but just interested if you've looked at the biodiversity work that we're proposing, and it's quite a substantial degree of expenditure being proposed over the coming years. Just wondered if you had a chance to consider that and what your view might be on our plan.
I had a look at it, and I know in the past I have submitted on biodiversity, but this time I chose to submit on the intersection at Boys Road. In terms of what is envisaged there, as always, I have a focus on the existing vegetation and a feeling that, having planted a native garden myself, that the maintenance costs of whatever you plant, you get weeds, and there's things in the district now like anything that's bird vectored, through blackberry and that, so it's not only the planting cost, it's also the maintenance cost, and often those planted things just they're quite expensive to maintain, and the weed burden on your existing native plantings in some of the areas is ongoing. The blackberry doesn't take a holiday, and I can understand to keep on top of it is expensive. So I suppose there's a note of caution there as to the implications of trying to plant where I can understand the desire to do that, but it's the practicalities of it. And I suppose, having had a native patch, and some of you might have seen our native patch, which is about half an acre, and what's been involved there, and that's just a very small patch, that there's it's not just the planting, it's the ongoing, and nature does it so much better, and I value, as I've said before, those existing vegetation things. So the plans to do all sorts of things and the money to spend on those, mixed feelings as to what you will have in, say, 10, 20, 30, 40 years' time, which is really, I think, what you've got to be looking at. Not just something, plantings in the first few years. So that's my personal thoughts based on having grown natives and also had the opportunity to be out and look at extensive existing vegetation, and that's through Miles, my husband's job, where we go out and I accompany him and we monitor areas, and you're taking photos in the same place so you get an idea of what happens. And so through that I have a really good idea of what happens there, but also what happens in areas where we try and put back what was there, and it's actually quite a hard thing to do.
Thank you for answering, because we value your opinion, and so it's been submitting on it for a number of years, so I appreciate that. But thank you for your thoughts on to the 5 Crossroads. It's very much, if someone lives nearby, it's very much appreciated.
It's getting scarier.
We get it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
We'll be meeting in a couple of weeks' time to make some decisions on submission points. That one there is may well be sitting a little further out. Whether we can bring it forward just depend on a range of things that we need to just understand around land and other things. But it's
So I realise there is a lot to sort of sort out, get all the ducks in a row, but you know, it's not going to go away.
Understand. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, right.
Thank you. Next submission is from John and Christine Kumba. Please come forward. I assume John's not with you today.
Getting ready to go to Central Otago when we leave.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so apologies from that.
It'll be a beautiful time here to see all those changes and the colours and all the things, so I hope you enjoy your trip. Christine, up to 10 minutes to speak to your submission, and if you could leave a little room for some questions at 8 minutes, Courtney will let you know when we're at that sort of point to give you an indication. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, everyone. Gillian has said a lot already about how we feel about our access. I'm a Gressons Road resident, right on the corner there, our corner property of the Wood End, Rangiora Road and Gressons Road. And as a retiree, constantly in the car and accessing Rangiora, Christchurch, Wood End, and I'm very aware of the huge growth in this is our 10th year living in the district. So today I'd like to focus on, Gillian has focused on the five crossroads. I would very much like to focus then just on the Gressons Road part. Right from the beginning when we arrived, I was aware, and of course it was 100 k's then, but doing a right-hand turn coming from Wood End and trying to turn into Gressons Road, I realised that you were taking your life into your hands even up to 10 years ago. You're looking and you're indicating, putting your foot on the brake and pumping that brake because the cars behind you, you were never too certain as, are they seeing what I'm doing? And of course you have a lot of cars coming down from Rangiora, you're trying to do your right-hand turn, and there's a narrow area to the left of you. And this is what I want to focus on. The cycle trail has been put behind the hedge, and it is not a very wide area there, where it essentially becomes a left-hand lane for traffic who need to pass you on the left if you are doing your right-hand turn into Gressons Road. Now, we have seen over the 10 years that people are not aware of the importance of that area of land because they are parking there. There has been a bus parked there. I noticed that now is not happening. People have left trailers overnight on this verge. Even a police car will be doing their work on their laptop, unaware of that this is actually needs to be a left-hand lane for traffic. Now, when you're going to do your right-hand turn, people are passing you at 70 and 80 k's. So, and sometimes you're very aware that they've just suddenly gone whoosh around you at the last moment that, oh heavens, they're going right. So I'm talking with my safety hat on. So today I would just like, because we wrote into the council in 2022 and we didn't get a reply. So that is why I felt that it was important to actually attend this hearing today. And in that submission in 13th of May 2022, we had some suggestions. And one was to see if it was possible to make a right-hand lane on the road. So it's a designated right-hand turn. And the most important thing would be to put some yellow lines along this left strip that I'm talking about so people do not park there. Now, it's not all the time. but it is enough to be of concern that people are parking there. So I'd just like to point that out, okay? And long term, I was very happy to hear Dan say today that they're already looking at plans that you can't divulge at the moment for, when we're talking about the crossroads. I'm just wondering about, having done a lot of thought about it and looking out at the area, maybe those intersections are so close. Is there a way, and I know it would mean involving land purchases, of bringing those two intersections to one, so that could Gresson's Road, I don't know whether you take it away or not, somehow be brought over to where perhaps a roundabout is going to be formed, and then you haven't got this traffic at Gresson's Road, which is not far away from the 5 roads at all, maybe be brought into one. Now, I know I'm talking long term, but that's a thought. It's safety, safety, safety is why I am here at the moment. Are there any questions?
I'm going to say thank you. I'm very sorry to hear that your submission wasn't responded to. I will follow that up, and certainly the immediate safety, definitely, we will get that looked into, so thank you for doing so. The other points you make are in consideration around what an alignment may look like.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? Very clear what you're looking for, Christine. I very much know what you're talking about, coming from what end on that left. I've used it myself as you go past people, so we'll get that looked into.
Yes.
And we'll come back to you.
I mean, Gillian's correct when she said today, she made a comment about it's not always. You could go down there and do a traffic count and think, what are they talking about? Today, I only had to give way to 5 on my right and 5 on my left this morning at 9 o'clock. But at other times, boy, and people panic and they do silly things when they're under stress. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, excuse me, Councillor Fortune.
Just hearing however things may take shape with the possible alignment of Gresson's Road and Firecross Road, that has implications for traffic on State Highway 1 and sort of changes the nature and purpose of Gresson's Road, and maybe that's a discussion for another day.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about that, if it means more traffic throughput, more convenience for people coming off State Highway and Waikuku, whipping through, going through Tuhiuli or wherever? Would you be open to that?
Yes, it's going to happen anyway.
You think it, yeah, so you were quite prepared on, yeah.
Okay, we may not be long term. We're retired people, but it is the future of everybody we've got to think about, not just for us.
Okay, no further questions I can see. Thank you very much. Enjoy your trip down south.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, so next submitter, Kaipoi Tuhiuli Community Board. Welcome, Jackie, to our meeting.
Good morning, everyone.
So we've allowed 10 minutes, but if you go slightly over, that's okay. Rather hear the points the board's got to say. But Courtney will let me know when we're at 10 minutes, and I'll give you an indication. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, well, as you will have seen, the board has supported the proposals by the council for the draft long-term plan. But I have to say, none of those decisions were reached easily. There seems to be a much wider range of opinions on our board these days, and we spent an awful lot of time discussing all these matters. So sometimes we had to ask for raised hands to determine the outcome. But in the end, we agreed that we do want to do option A for the natural environment. It's important, and we've listed there some of the reasons why it's important. So many people working in the community towards this end now, so the council needs to get behind what people want, and that is what people want. Okay, building the right facilities at the right time. I'd certainly love to see a new library. I think most of the board would have liked to see a new library. It always comes down to those people that want to spend money and those people that don't. And of course, because we're in such difficult financial times at the moment, no one wants to spend any money. The trouble is when you don't spend money, you don't get anything. You don't get any growth. So we supported the preference that council had. Oh, have I looked at the wrong one? No, where am I? Yeah, the library, yeah, okay. Oh no, that's number 3, sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. So going back to option 2, yeah, we have some reservations about the investment in Southbrook Sports Club and suggested that some sort of partnership with various other sports clubs to assist in the rebuilding might be a better way to do it. Kaipoi residents feel a little bit left out because they have to travel to Rangiora for the extra bits and pieces that the pool supplies. There's no hydrotherapy, no sort of spa things in the Kaipoi pool, and it's a bit of a drive between the two towns, and it would be nice to see that in Kaipoi, but once again, we know that there isn't any money at the moment. Item number 4, we supported option A with that too, and we're supportive of the staff managing emergency events because they seem to be becoming more frequent. Item number 5, the Rangiora Eastern Link Road. We had, once again, dissenting voices, and you'll see that board member Sandra Stewart wanted something different. Skewbridge is an important transport route in our district, and we would like to see that happen as soon as possible, but once again, it's all about funding. And other projects that the board supported, we're really pleased about the art strategy and hope that some of the time that the new person is going to have may be spent in helping the galleries with their promotion. They bring in people to the district. We also recommended, this is out of frustration at the multitude of orange cones everywhere and the high level of health and safety that goes into traffic management on events these days. So we suggested that maybe the council could set up an in-house traffic management team, hopefully reducing the costs of that and hopefully reducing some of the requirements. Item number 8, Norman Kirk Park. We'd love to see that used more as an event place. It has been used successfully already. And lastly, item number 9, we support the development of the mixed-use business area, and we thank the council in supporting the local developer in their aim to get the rest of the town finished so that we've got a whole town again. So are there any questions?
Thank you. Thanks, Jackie. Any questions? I think your submission points are very clear. So thank you for those. And as you will observe tonight, I'm sorry, Councillor Redmond first, the art strategy is being launched tonight, which is really exciting.
Yes.
Thank you for the role you play in that. Councillor Redmond.
Thank you. Good morning, Jackie. I just wondered, what is the board's view on the proposed average rate increase of 8.94%? Did the board have a view on that? And secondly, in terms of the mixed-use business area, at least one other submitter has referred to the lack of a market square. Do you see that area east of the service centre being appropriate for an open or covered, potentially, market square?
Okay, well, first of all, the rates. Thanks, Arthur. I think we're very happy that the rate increase is under 10%. And obviously that was in the back of our minds the whole time, that some of the board members didn't want to spend anything at all because they'd like to get the rate increase down further and make sure it stays that way. So rates are always uppermost in board members' minds, of course, but we are happy that it's under 10% because lots of other councils don't seem to have been doing that, so well done. And the market square, yeah, I'm not sure about that. It would be a good space for a market square, and I know Jed, the developer, was really his initial plans for a lot of his developments have revolved around the market square, And in a way, that's what he was trying to achieve when he built the area where, what's it called now, the platform is, and Craze. I mean, it is small, but it is sort of a little market square. I'm sure there are different ways of achieving a market square. So I don't know. There are so many ways of looking at things. Yeah, I couldn't say positively, Philip, that anyone is really concerned on the board that there isn't a market square.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Again, thank you, Jackie. We appreciate the submission. A couple of weeks we'll be making some decisions and we will let you know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. See you tonight.
All right. Next we have Tikahaka Otuatala Trust. Are you here? Simon, could you just check if there's any update on that? Otherwise, Morris is here, so we could take Morris a little early if he's happy to. I'll just double check and see if there's any update there. Okay, all right. So we'll, Morris, if you're prepared to come a little early, that would be great. Thanks, Morris. We appreciate your submission and being here to present your views. Up to 10 minutes is the time allowed. At 8 minutes, Courtney will give a little reminder where we're at the time, and if you could leave some room for questions, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick, for that. I sort of done my submission a little bit late, the day before it's supposed to be in, and I've only really concentrated on areas that I sort of have an interest in or have a wee bit of knowledge in. And the first is Southbrook Club. Yeah, I take it that you're sort of looking at perhaps doing something with the buildings here, and my kind of way for the Southbrook Club is it the right club for Ringa or Saracens Rugby to be at? And I say that I was actually president of the Northern Ireland Association back in 2006, when Ringa Rugby served us with a notice that they were leaving to go to Southbrook. And so I was quite involved with how it happened, what happened, and I never wanted them to go, as the AMP didn't want them to go, and I still maintain that perhaps the showgrounds is a better place for rugby. If that was to sort of save some costs for the council, I know you pay us a fee every year for sports to go there, and I'm not too sure, I'm out of the AMP now, I'm not too sure what goes there, but I was just wondering whether that would be an option to look at for a money saving thing and for something betterment for rugby. The next thing, the library. While I'm all to try and save money, because we're going through pretty tough times in this country and ratepayers are under a lot of pressure, I actually would favour a dual library service centre. I wouldn't have an issue with my rates going towards that. Concerns I have with minor refurbishments, to me, are dead money. They're gone once you spend them, and in the future, if you only knock it down, well, that is money sort of gone away. The other thing that probably concerns me is the cost to the council of leasing buildings for staff. I mean, we don't know how much that is, but I mean, if that is a substantial amount, every year that compounds, and that could be, if explained to the ratepayers that you're saving money by not having to lease buildings for staff to be in, would probably help them understand that the possibility of a new building would be better. And I'd also like the museum to be included in a new building, or, I mean, if a new building was to be done, does the old library stay?
Sorry, what was it, Morris?
Does the old library stay if the new building was to be created?
On present, yes, there's no intention to bring it down. If that, on some of the works we've been doing, but it's early days. We haven't made any decision on that.
I was just looking at that as possibly an option for the museum if something obviously has to go into the thing. And I actually feel sorry for the council. This building was never practical from day one. I was around at the time when this was built. While the Rangiora Borough Council thought they'd created the eighth wonder of the world, everyone looked at them and wondered why.
Morris, can I just pause you? Excuse me, could we just as there's a lot of interruption of people coming in and out, in between submissions, can we just please just people wait in the foyer? Would you mind letting us start about it? Thank you. Sorry, Morris, it's just I'm being distracted with the door opening on your points.
It was never practical, this building, so I think the time has come where you need a building that's practical and use a lot of natural lighting, solar power, make it innovative so people can learn from it, and people may possibly accept it a wee bit better than having to pay for it. It's also something that everyone can actually use, and I always believe if there's something that all ratepayers can use, well, they shouldn't really have a problem with actually having to pay for it. On the flooding, I've always had an interest in flooding and watching what happens in that, and while I support the council doing something about it, I would like to be a bit more hands-on and practical as opposed to putting in glossy brochures what needs to be done. I've been involved in a number of issues with flooding relating to the council, and none of them are really resolved, and that saddens me. And the trouble with flood is it's here 1 week and then it's gone. You haven't got the evidence, but you can take detail with photography and go back and sort these things. I just feel I'm not being proactive enough in actually solving the problems, as in getting out with a digger and removing the areas that need to be done, cleaning drains, that sort of stuff. That is my view and experience that I've actually had. On the Eastern Link Road, I have nothing wrong with planning for it for the future. I do have an issue with ratepayers having to pay for it, especially the ratepayers over the whole of the Waimakariri area. No problem with it being a target rate on the east side of Rangiora from the railway line, because they'll be the people who are going to use it. And I say that because we in the west, people in the north, people in the south still have roads that need to be maintained. There's a lot of dollars need to be put into roads around there, and I think this is quite a substantial amount just for the Eastern Link. When they do have options, they still have the option of the Rangiora Woodian Road to the Main North Road to the motorway. While it might take a wee bit longer, it's still a clear option for people on the East Rangiora to actually take. And to spend approximately $30 million just to make a shortcut for them, I just don't see that as being fair in this climate that we're in today. Just on a note in the book here, there is some risk around development contribution funding. If growth does not occur as forecast, then the council would need to use more debt to fund the project. Also anticipated in the district plan is growth to the west, and once this is available for housing, I believe will progress faster than the east, not having to deal with swamp-like conditions, undercurrent soft ground. It'll be far more economic for people to develop in that area. And then we have the issue of Lehman's Road and the Western Bypass. Who pays for this? This is other things we've all got to think about when it comes to money for roading. Also, there is some risk around development contributions funding if growth does not occur as forecast, when the council would need to use more debt to fund the project. And once again, it's the east is a big risk really, because I do believe more land in Ravenswood. I don't know whether Pegasus is filled up, but there's southwest Rangiora, there is west. There's so much land going to become available when your final district plan is out, that all of a sudden it's going to probably come down to what is the cheapest to get done first. The council themselves own a nice block of land on the corner of Lehman's Oxford Road, which will be far more economic to develop the residential than on the east. So my concern is if you were to go ahead with something so costly and it doesn't develop as quick as you may like, whether that's prudent spending of the money. Just a couple of things also on the thing here. It's got down here in option B, but it's repeated further over here. The roading network will be unable to adequately support growth, particularly in East Rangiora. Also, this would also restrict freight and limit the roading network's ability to support the district's economy, and planned projects will likely need to be delayed. I find it hard to believe that, because as I said, coming out of Christchurch, you've still got the motorway, main Moss Road, turn left onto Rangiora Woodend Road. There's actually a clear route to get from Christchurch into Rangiora from the eastern side, and vice versa. I almost think there's a bit of trickery with words here to make it sound as though it's worse. I mean, I've never heard of any freight not being able to get into Rangiora. So I think that needs to be taken into account. I think we need to be sort of a bit honest about the whole thing. That's basically covered my points, man.
Thanks, Morris. One of the points you made was around drainage, and there is actually a lot of work going on in that area. I'm just looking to Councillor Williams to perhaps make contact with you, with our staff, just to explain exactly what we're doing. I won't waste the time here today, but perhaps Paul, if you wouldn't mind, outside this, contacting Morris and making it just, and where you've got some concerns, where we can pick those up, because there is a lot of proactivity going in this space, and we put a lot of money aside to do that, so resource. So I'll get Councillor Williams in touch with you because he's the portfolio lead. You're happy to do that, Paul? Thank you. Other questions? Can we Councillor Bryan and Councillor Ward?
So, Morris, I'm not sure of your association with the AMP at the moment. Are you aware of any intention to upgrade the changing facilities under the stand?
They have been upgraded, Robbie. They were actually done, my last years at IMP were 2015, 2016. I spent 2 years project managing the grandstand as it was redone after earthquake. Wasn't damaged in earthquake, but the changing sheds are all new. New showers, new walls, everything spick and span. I mean, we spent over 400,000 on a grandstand, and what disappoints me is I've never seen it fill since rugby's gone.
Or rugby one?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So it's such a, I mean, it's the best facility for rugby because you have a grandstand, you have adequate parking, but now it's not used. Yeah. Well, it's not used for rugby.
Thank you. Councillor Ward?
Thank you for your submission, Morris, and your passion about what we do. But are you aware that currently there's over 26,000 cars daily go through Southbrook, of which 15,000 go straight through onto Lineside Road? So that really is something that a lot of the submissions want to alleviate that congestion there, because that's the only solution we see to alleviate for the residents east of Rangiora. And just for your information, are you aware that currently at 5 o'clock there's a real gridlock, cars stopped completely on the main North Road from at the Carpoi overbridge through to Woodend. It takes over 20 minutes to get from the Carpoi overbridge to Woodend.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. I think that you've raised your questions there.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I'm not aware of a number of those things, John, but however, I am aware of the congestion through Southbrook. All you're doing though is taking the east, they're just going to take a shortcut through to make congestion on Lineside Road. But have there any thought, and then I believe you obtain the land for the western bypass, if you could divert the traffic north of Ashley River around Rangiora, that would solve the problem for a lot less cost.
Have you thought that we're going to, we're looking at Scoobridge to alleviate that issue?
You're going to look at that? Yes, yeah. Perhaps you should look at that before the eastern bypass train.
You're doing both.
Thank you, Morris. A question for Councillor Redmond, and then we'll let you go. Councillor Redmond.
Right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Councillor Ward raised the topic. I was going to ask you, Morris, what were your thoughts on Scoobridge? And I think you've just expressed that. So unless you've got anything else to add, thank you.
Oh, the Scoobridge is definitely a problem. Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, I will put that before the eastern bypass. It's just I'm not anti the eastern bypass, I'm anti the ratepayers have to pay for it. I mean, but I just think the council needs to wait a bit of time until everything else comes on board, because the east might not grow as quick as you think it will. If I just made one point before I go again, and it's comes to what Tim said about the 5 crossroads between Onoranga and Woodian Road. I spent the first 28 years of my life catching a bus at the 5 crossroads, driving through the 5 crossroads, so I know a bit about the 5 crossroads. And I no longer live, I've lived up in Oxford Road now, so I don't go there very often, but the times I do go there, it actually makes me extremely nervous sitting. If you're not on Onoranga or Woodian Road, and I generally come off Harris Road, we own a property down there, but the cars coming from Tuahewi, from Boys Road, and everyone gets there, and the problem is people come impatient to get on the road because there's so much traffic there. And that's where people start to take risks. And Tuahewi Road and Boys Road is where people intercross to get where they're going. It really is a disaster waiting to happen. A while ago, the council did try to close Harris Road, which we supported, our family. It would be one way of taking one road off it. But there's an issue there that needs to be looked at. No doubt about it.
Morris, thank you for your submission points and the thoughtful way in which you put forward, and we do appreciate that. A couple of weeks we'll be getting back together to make some decisions, and we'll let you know, but appreciate your thoughts.
Yep, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Joseph Summers, okay. Is we've got the Access Group next, so I understand Joseph Summers way, so we may end up going a little over time today. Access Group is just, we're ready to take you straight now if you rather than sitting down, so if you want to come and sit at the table. Shona, did you want to sit at the table as well?
I can sit. I'm not going to say anything.
Okay, that's cool. It's just there's an ability for you to sit there if you like. So, good morning. Who's leading the?
charge.
So, we've got up to 10 minutes. And welcome to our meeting. Courtney will sound about 8 minutes to give you an indication how time's going. We'd appreciate if you could leave a little bit of room for some questions at the end. So thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, my name is Monique Fleming. I'm a Rangiora Actually Community member, here to speak on behalf of the Waimakariri Access Group. Our current draft long-term plan is community outcome states. We are a place where everyone can have a sense of belonging, and also public spaces respond to changing demographics and meet local needs for leisure and recreation. Last year, the Waimakariri district population was estimated at 71,000. Our Ministry of Health statement that same year stated 24% of New Zealand's population identified as disabled, increasing to 35% of those 65 years and older. This would indicate numbers of 18,000 plus residents with some form of disability, be it physical, intellectual or sensory. The New Zealand Office for Disability Issues also states, disability is something that happens when people with impairments face barriers in society. Our society disables us, not our impairments. WEG tries to represent those with impairments and the barriers they face in trying to live. Recreation, transport and communication are areas where these barriers often exist. My colleague Caroline Spollen from the Chris Reed Centre is going to speak first on recreation barriers at our calls.
Good morning, everybody. If I don't know me, my name is Caroline Spollen. I manage the Chris Reed Centre in Kaikoura with people with disabilities. I see myself as an advocate for these people as well. Okay. So I'd like to start by saying 2 years ago, I applied for the same submission, and it's all about access to the waimakariri's doggy bill. We are finding it difficult to get people we support into swimming as they need exercise. And swimming gives these people the best exercise they can because they're using all their muscle groups. Our disadvantage is that we can't access these groups. If we've got people in wheelchairs, they can't get into the swimming pool because we're hindered with steps. We're hindered with the changing rooms. The changing rooms are not built for adults people. There's a hoist in there, there's a bed, a very, very small bed that fits a small child. We have tried this and we brought a manual chair in. We had to have the person be supported on the hoist. The chair wouldn't fit in the room, we had to take that out. We could only fit one person in there. And it was a struggle, and it was a health and safety issue as well for the staff involved. There was one wet chair there, and it was to be used. So from the changing bed, we have to wait for that wet chair not to be used to take the person that we support to the swimming pool. When we get to the swimming pool, we've got a ramp to the main swimming pool. When we put the person in the wet chair and wheel her down the ramp, the person comes out of the wet chair because the ramp is too steep, and the person that is supporting has to carry that person because we've got a big barrier going along into the pool. When the person is in the pool, the water is too cold, we're stuck on one lane where people can be swimming up and down. So we only have that small part, and that's how we can get into the pool. So the pool's not fit for purpose for the people we support either. The people we support like going into the lazy river. How can we get them into the lazy river? Because there's steps there. We can't wheel a wet chair through the steps, so we can't use that either. Is there a hoist? No, there's no hoist. The submission was passed 2 years ago for funding. I have asked numerous occasions, are we getting the hoist? I spoke with Matt recently. The funding that was promised to us to get a hoist for our people to do everyday things like swimming was spent on maintenance last year. That's 1 year after the submission was approved. So it's a shame. It is a shame. It's a disappointment. And we're really, really disappointed. The people we support are part of this community as well. And we are hindering basic needs of swimming. We would like a bigger changing room, but the fact that we just need accessibility to get into the pools would be amazing. If there was maintenance last year and the pools cleaned out, it would be the perfect time to maybe go around and sort out the steps. But we would love to get a hoist that would be fit for a purpose for the people we support, the people of the waimakariri. There is the Asian population as well that will need this as well at some point. So I'd really like you to consider funding this for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Continuing on the matter of recreation. We support the Waimakariri Youth Council's submission on creating permanent bocce courts at main pass 30. Bocce is a Paralympic sport. Similar to bowls, it can play by all, no matter their ability. A permanent court would broaden the recreational opportunities in our district, and Main Park could potentially host national competitions. With regards to transport, public transport is minimal or non-existent outside our major towns. We suggest an on-demand minibus system similar to Timaru's My Way, with affordable fares. This will enable way members such as Karen, who lives in Tuahiri and has a visual impairment, to get to work without relying on family. Ted living in Oxford faces the same challenges. Nick attends WAG meetings in his wheelchair and fortunately can use public transport, but at times finds entering and exiting a bus a real challenge. Already designed bus stops. We suggest an audit be done collaboratively with providers and bus users to identify and resolve problem areas. Final transport method, disabled car parks. Clearly identified with a wheelchair symbol on the road would make it easy to identify and perhaps improve compliance. ideally more disabled paths, longer and parallel to the pavement to improve transition to and from vehicle, and located near business entrances. Getting from a vehicle to a business can take considerably longer if you're using a wheelchair or a cane. And finally, communication barriers. We're suggesting a call board be readily available and visible at all public-facing council facilities. A call board assists the intellectually impaired in communication with images they can point to. This is an example of what the board looks like.
It's one in your submission, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The reverse of the board could use New Zealand Sign Language, of which we have 20,000 users in New Zealand. Enabling access to recreation and transport and enhancing communication benefits all in our community. I will leave you with Mahatma Gandhi's quote, "The true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members." Thank you for your time.
And thank you for yours. Caroline, could you say that I understood a plan was in place? Yeah, so outside of this meeting, we'll arrange with the portfolio holder a meeting that I'll put together with our key staff to see where we're at with that, because we don't want people feeling they can't access our facilities, and I understood a plan was in place for that, so a bit disappointed to hear that's not the case. We'll not wait for submission process, we'll get on to that, so we'll be in touch to make a time.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Very clear submission. Thank you for and thank you for the work that you do with our disability committee. Access is really important, and we always appreciate the input and the way in which you go about your advocacy. Thank you. All right. We advise that Tika Haka Tuatara Trust Joseph is on his way, but we are going to. Joseph, thank you for arriving. I'm sorry, not now. If you could wait, because Joe Holland's next. If you don't mind waiting until Joe's presented.
I was told that he could take my place first. I don't mind waiting.
Well, it's up to you. Yeah, I just didn't want to have you waiting longer. Joseph, if you're ready, that's great. Thank you. Thanks, Joseph. And we've received the submission. Thank you. Fill up 10 minutes, and staff will give you an indication when you're at about 8 with the bell. And if you could leave a bit of room for some questions, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
I don't
think you need to clip that back on. Sorry, that's it. Awesome.
I don't think I'll need 14 minutes. I'm actually just here to support our inclusion in the long-term plan and acknowledge that we support option A, the Council's preference to include all 124 actions in the National Environment Strategy. We appreciate you identifying Te Kohaka Tū Haitara and mentioning us specifically at 2.1.3.3 of the Natural Environment Strategy Implementation Plan. Once again, Dan, I'm just here to support our ongoing relationship between Te Kohaka Tū Haitara and WDC and our inclusion in the long-term plan.
Thanks, Joseph, and we appreciate our relationship that we have with the Trust as well, so thank you, and thanks for all the work you do. Any questions or comments? Councillor Blakey is our representative there, so we hope he's adding value. I understand he is. So, all right, Joseph, thank you, very clear submission, thank you for your time. Thank you. All right, next we have Mr. Joe Holland. You're welcome to come forward, Joe. Thanks, Joe, and appreciate the submission. We've got up to 10 minutes, and our team will signal with a bell when you're at 8, and leave some room for some questions. That would be appreciated.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you to the WDC for this opportunity to present to the Council and these representatives this morning. Let me begin with the Waimakariri mission statement and their value statement of the done a couple of submissions with this before. Our mission statement: to pursue with the community a high quality physical and social environment, safe communities, and a healthy economy. Our value statement: this is our service promise to you, to us. We'll keep you informed, we'll do better every day. We'll take responsibility, we'll act with integrity, honesty, and trust. We'll work with you and each other. I now ask why each of you are in the position you are in. For today, I do not want you to hear me, but it is a hope that you will listen with intent. It is an honour to present to you today, but it would have been nice if some of you had made it to an NCRRA community meeting. The WDC long-term plan, what does it contain? What ultimately does it entail and inform us of? I believe it is a blueprint of expenditure, of gross overspending and further indebtedness to my fellow ratepayers, my friends and my family. That it outlines future-proofing of infrastructure, its intention of a mass overspending of unavailable ratepayer funds. So it proposes an additional 155 million of potential debt by 2034. Why? Because our country and its leaders, including many district council leaders, have a corporate mindset, a money mindset, which is ultimately a greed mindset. An agenda set to financially enslave the very people you're meant to serve. It is currently designed to bankrupt the communities of New Zealand. And the government will have the answer. A central banking digital currency based on a UBI, universal base income. The infrastructure for this has already been put in place. This will then lead to a social credit system whereby the people are under mass surveillance. So what does the long-term plan put first? What is at the centre of your plan? Rates rises in cost of services and council-provided recreational facilities equals greater financial hardships and burdens on our community. I have received phone calls and heard and read multiple stories of people struggling and some beginning to realise this might mean they have to lose their homes. Is this what you want for our community? I actually feel sorry for all of you and what you've had to implement and what you've had a hand in creating. From the land acquisitions, the poor roading, never-ending and unsustainable rate rises and infrastructure projects that have seen elements of restrictive and control like 15-minute cities. You will be remembered for this, your families included. My light and my truth will only grow and grow and gain momentum, as will those good members of our community standing up and speaking out. Those and the many of those who support it. The darkness and the business corporate model that you manage it for us will wither over time. We, the people, will see to that. We have all been empowered to be here to educate you. And now it is up to you if you will listen or you will act. If you choose not to act and continue in the direction you are going, we will leave your system and we will create our own parallel system. I see a brighter future for us all, and it's going to need governance. However, that governance by the people will need heart. It will not need to be managed by standing orders that seek to minimise and restrict, like 10-minute presentations and one-way questions, rules and regulations, and security guards. I have a vision of enrichment for our families and our communities. one that does not have central government entities like Taumata Arawai, declining the Cuss water exemption and forcing district-wide water chlorination. I ask, what happened to us and our voice in our district? What happened to Councillors Brian's "we have pristine water" here in Waimakariri? I appreciate there's no time for debate, but why? What reasons are there for us not to have open, honest and transparent debates? What is the Delphi technique? And how and why is it used so often? Open and honest debate is healthy for our communities. It grows transparency and trust in public figures. Too flippantly are the terms conspiracy and chaos used. What is then the intent of these words? So I ask you all, ask me a question. Feel free, invite me in for a debate. Yes, still, make yourselves available and come along to a community meeting. Don't predispose hostility, as I and my team will not allow it, but show leadership and show courage for the people you serve. Best still, feel free to call us out if we're presenting information that is incorrect. However, be reminded that we present information gathered from the WDC and the LGFA, amongst other information. But most importantly, own what you have created. I ask that you work with us to change the immense wrongs happening here in our community. Now the long-term plan. Rewrite it. Put the people at the heart of the document. Do not make it about dollars and cents. Put heart back into your mission and value statement. Give this meaning and give it weight. I know an immense amount of time went into its creation. So does this document make my life better? Does it make my life more fulfilling? Do I feel a sense of warmth? Am I proud to be a member of this community with the current WDC leadership? In respect to climate change, here I wish to offer you my thoughts. Yes, climate changes. We are seeing a small period of global warming, but that is changing rapidly. We're at the beginning of a global cooling period now. Last night was a little cool, eh? This is due to a natural cycle for the Earth's cleansing of our beautiful and sustaining oceans. You need alternative, clean and sustainable energy. Forget about the BS money-making machine that is the carbon tax credit, but look to provide alternative energy for our communities. My next point, I was riding this while enjoying a Rutherford and Myer cracker on the Air New Zealand flight home last night from Auckland. Rutherford and Myer, business born in North Canterbury. I request this written into all documentation for the record. Never again will our Waimakariri District Council implement restrictions on residents in and around such methods as a vaccine passport, the potential to poison our community with fluoride, introduce further elements of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals with restrictions to enter WDC managed facilities. Additionally, I would like to see a formal public apology given to us, the people, for those restrictions and the exclusions and humiliation and treatment by the Waimakariri District Council. What say you? If you don't, then I see no other choice but for me, and to state it here for the public record now very clearly for you all.
Joe, you're at 10.
I don't think you'll wrap up. I will withdraw my consent as a living man not as the legal fiction you leave me on records. With all my affairs with the Waimakariri District Council, this will include withdrawing my financial support, my rates, to the Council. Additionally, I will be encouraging and supporting as many other people as possible to do this also. Furthermore, to not do this would make me complicit in your continued fiscal mismanagement and fraud. Thank you. I now await your questions.
Thanks, Joe. I'm happy to ask some questions. Is there any questions? Councillor Redmond.
Whoops. Thank you, Joe, for your submission. You referred to debt in your submission. Do you support the use of debt to fund capital works and infrastructure?
No.
Which, not at all.
Where's it going? Where's the debt going?
Excuse me, Joe, just let Councillor Redmond finish his question. Philip, can you make questions a bit sharper and get to the point, please?
Right. So you don't support, okay. Second question, if not, what alternative sources of funding do you propose?
What alternative sources of funding? Well, you're just going to have to cut the ticket. There are no other alternative sources, are there? Bring the community back in, have community action days. You know, you're going to have to work very, very hard to get community support back in to see you. And the whole corporate model that you've been following. Did you understand what I meant by where we're going with the debt enslavement? I mean, this is happening on a global scale. I'm sure you're aware of what's happening here around New Zealand as well. What is nationally the councils in debt? Is it the tune of 19 billion? Top that on top of what is our gross, government debt? Is it clipped over 100 billion? It's completely unsustainable. You can't keep borrowing in order for us to live and survive. So no, there's no others. Get the community back in. We need to wipe out the corporations. That is going to take some time. It's not going to happen tomorrow. If you continue on, I'm going to be receiving more phone calls from people asking for support and how to stop losing their homes with these rate rises. And it's not just rate rises, because they have an entire long-term plan. Every element of some sort of task or application, fee with the council, every single item is going up. How many are coming down? Can you answer that, Phil?
No, thanks for your answer, Joe.
Well,
thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Holland. We appreciate your submission. We'll be meeting in a couple of weeks to make some decisions, and we'll be in touch thereafter.
Yeah, I'll email it to you, and there'll be a few responses I'll be requesting.
Thanks, Joe.
Sharing with the community.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Come to the end of our meeting. I just wouldn't mind councillors to remain. Just a couple of questions I want to pose to you about some other measures. So if our public gallery could